We get set up here. And I promise you, today is going to be a great day for economic elevation. It's always a great day for economic elevation. And what I do is I get up in the morning and I try to join the 5 a.m. club where I get up at 5 a.m. Sometimes I'm in the 6 a.m. club, but today I was in the 6 a.m. club, which ain't half bad. And I'm gonna tell you what, there usually when I spend a couple of hours in the morning kind of meditating on the whether it's on the treadmill or whatever, I usually come up with some stuff that kind of comes to mind. So give me 1 second here. It has to do with a conversation I had with my daughter in the car, and I'm gonna tell you guys about it and let you all know what the financial or economic meditation is behind this remark. And in fact, actually, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to read from my book today, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, which you can get a copy of the book if you'd like at drboycebooks.com. And I'm explain this. I guess the children were on my mind today and the future generally. If you're an investor, if you think like an investor, if you have a money mindset, then you're always thinking about the future. You're not really so caught up in the present. You don't let yourself sort of get bogged down by the details of what's happening right now around you. You want to focus on the bigger picture, right? Investors can see the bigger picture and they can also see the long game. They don't play the short game, they play the long game. They don't play the small game. They play the big game. They think wide, they think big, right? So I want you to think big and I want you to think long, okay? Because that's that's really where the money resides and that's where your economics will prosper, okay? So you want to practice that. And the reason you have to practice it is because not everybody does it. I know so many people who are petty, small-minded. Even I can be petty and small-minded if I don't meditate myself out of that. So I think that daily meditation is really a great way to really recenter your brain. And you got to remind yourself, who the hell are you? What man am I? What woman am I? Who are you right now? Who are you going to be? Who are you going to choose to be in that particular moment? I think that's really important, and that kind of keeps you centered, right? So anyway, um, give me 1 second here. All right. So, as you guys know, every morning, this is our financial consciousness training, Money in the Morning, where we discuss the art of economic elevation. And we do this Monday through Sunday, every single day of the week. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern. The live sessions are totally free. If you want to get the recordings of all the trainings we've done so far, we have over 100 lectures on these topics. You can go to drboycedaily.com, and that first month is free. You then become a premium member if that's something that you'd like to do. Also, I want to remind you that the All Black National Convention is going to happen right outside Chicago, Lombard, Illinois, in October. It's going to be October 25th to the 27th. And that is also a great time for us to get together and make plans for the future and really talk about our community and how we can solve our problems. All right. So here's the first thing that comes to mind. Today is my birthday. I don't know if y'all know that. They're the liars, the haters in the world, the people with fake news. They keep telling me that it's my 53rd birthday, but I don't believe them. They're lying. They're not. They're making things up. Really, today is not my 53rd birthday. It is the 20th anniversary of my 33rd birthday. Okay, so because I figure that in order for me to practice being a really good 33-year-old, I need about 20 years of practice, and I've had a lot of repetition, and I've been able to turn 33 20 times now. And I'm really good at being a 33-year-old now. Right? I'm the wisest 33-year-old ever because I've been practicing for 20 years. So everybody congratulate me on this being the 20th anniversary of my 33rd birthday. It's been hard. It's been a lot of work, a lot of ups and downs. But I think this year I'm going to get it right. And so this morning, my lovely wife and our little daughter, Taylor, Tay, she has lots of nicknames I've given her. I've been raising her since she was 6. I'm her bonus dad. She has a great father, a great biological father who's a great guy. We partner, we collaborate on how to raise the kids, and it's been a wonderful experience because he's a wonderful person. And so anyway, but Taylor and I have formed a good, very strong relationship, and we talk a lot about life and economics and stuff like that. Like, so for example, one rule that we live by is what we call the 3P philosophy. And I say, what are the 3Ps of success? And she says, practice, preparation, and persistence. practice, preparation, and persistence. So whenever she has a disappointment, whenever something doesn't go right, or when she didn't make the dance team or whatever, I said, okay, which of the three P's did we miss out on? Which of the three P's would have helped us to in this situation? And she would say preparation, or practice or whatever, right? Or if she misses the bus, I'll say, okay, which of the three P's did we violate today? And I tell her this, and I because I sort of teach her in the same way that I teach or I talk to you guys about stuff. I'm a believer that that you don't have to have complex ideas to solve complex problems. I believe that a lot of complex problems can be solved with very simple frameworks, very simple ideas. And so, in fact, actually, in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, I'm going to read to you a section on page 57 where I talk about what it means to build sturdy children, sturdy, STERDY. And I'm going to explain what that means in a minute. But at first, I'm going to tell you something that I said to her that is probably going to piss off a lot of people when they hear it. It's probably going to make them think that I'm being unrealistic, or that I'm being uppity, or that I'm not telling the truth. And I get it. I understand. I hear you, and I respect that. But at the same time, I'm not going to budge 1 inch on this point. And I'm going to lay this out for you. I'm going to lay it down for you exactly the way I said it to her, literally less than 5 minutes ago. So we're in the car, and her mother is talking about the fact Taylor loves to dance. She is just, she's been dancing since she came out of the womb. She goes to dance practice, every single day. She practices like for 3 hours, literally every single day. In fact, this weekend, we're figuring out how to coordinate and go to her dance championships and all that. If you've ever raised somebody that does a sport or something like that, kids in these activities, it's a whole racket. Y'all know the whole racket. Whether it's your kids in football, it's a racket. They're going to get thousands from you. Basketball, they're going to get thousands. Baseball, they're going to get thousands. Dance, they're going to get thousands. Cheerleading, they're going to get thousands, right? So they build a whole industry around this, which is fine, whatever. So she loves to dance, and she probably wants to be some sort of performer when she gets older, dancer, singer, actress. She's done all these things, and she's beautiful like her mom. So she goes and does stuff, and they're already reaching out to her about doing commercials and all this other stuff, which I think is great. And now here's the thing: we talk about the next step, and we talk about what do you want to be when you grow up. And what happens a lot of times is that we have to pull our kids down, so-called down to earth, by sort of making sure that they don't get carried away with unrealistic dreams. Like, so for example, you have 10 million little boys in the hood that all want to be the next LeBron James. That we know that's not going to happen because it can't happen. It's not statistically possible because a bunch of these kids are going to grow up to be 5'8", and you can't be 5'8" and King James at the same time. That's not possible. He's 6'8", 240 pounds. Less than 1% of them will even be big enough to be LeBron James, right? So some dreams, the bubble has to be popped a little bit, but then sometimes I think we pop the bubble a little bit too soon. I think that we have some dreams where we deflate them and kill them when it's not totally necessary. So there was a conversation in the car where I think Alicia brought up the fact that dancers don't make hardly any money. Dancers make maybe $1,000 a month or something like that. And that's true. Dancers don't make a lot of money. That's not a great career to go into if you want to be rich. At least from dancing, right? A few do, right? But most of them don't. And so I was, kind of listening, and I said, and then I mentioned some things about how dancing every day has given her a consistent work ethic, and I'm very proud of her. And then I said, do you know what my PhD is in? And she said, math. I said, no. She said, well, I thought you had a degree in math. I said, no, I taught math at the University of Kentucky. I have a master's degree in math, and also I completed the requirements for a master's in statistics. But my PhD is in finance. And I said, do you know what finance is? And she said, money. I said, exactly. I said, so I said, I said, let me tell you a little something about money. Because my problem is when I go into teacher mode with kids, I have a problem really with anybody, not even just kids. I have a problem of talking too much because there's so many things that come into my head all at once. So I'm like, oh, I want to tell them this, and I want to tell them this, and tell them this. And then people get confused and it becomes weird. So I try my best to tame the bull. And I was like, okay, I want to collapse everything I want to say to this little girl because I love her and I want to see her succeed. I want to see her happy. That's it. That I want happiness. That's what I want. That's what I want for the kids. So I said, how do I collapse all these ideas that are flowing through my brain right now into one simple idea? So here was a simple idea. And I thought I would share it with you. This is our our money meditation for today. This is our financial consciousness exercise. I said, Tater, I said, the worst way in the world to make money is to work for it. And I say that statement knowing full well that there are so many people that are going to get mad at me for even saying that. They're going to think I'm being uppity, being disrespectful to the millions of people that work hard every day for their money. That is not the intention at all. I am not here to insult any of us who were raised to get up and go to work every day, for sure. But I said, I said, a lot of people are trained from birth to trade hours of their life to make money, to get that income you need to pay bills. It's not a lot of money, it's just enough money to get by for most people. That's what we are trained to do. We're trained to say, I want to be a blank, and people who do blank make blank amount of money. Therefore, my income will be blank. And if you look at the universe of all the different ways that wealth can be accumulated and money can be made, that is a slither of that entire universe. There are so many ways to make money that doesn't involve selling your time, selling your labor, or selling your body. And that, but the thing about it is that because our financial literacy training is so bad, that's all we end up learning. It's like going into the NBA and all you've ever learned how to do was dribble with your left hand and shoot 3-point shots. If you've only got one move, then you're going to be very easy to defend. That's what I heard they said about Caitlin Clark, that she can't dribble to her left or something like that. So when you got limited moves, and it's very easy for them to box you in. And I explained to you all that capitalism is built around slavery. Capitalism works best when you have slaves. That's why they built prisons and didn't completely end slavery with the 13th Amendment. They left the loophole. They said, okay, let's build these prisons, let's get black people to fill them up, and then we can make them slaves again. So I said, the worst way to make money in the world is to work for it. I said, listen to me. I will show you how to be an investor, and then you'll have all the money that you need, and you can dance for the rest of your life. And when I said that to her, I felt something in my heart when I said it. I felt a father's love when I said that. Like, to me, that was me saying, we're gonna liberate you. I want you out of the chains. I don't want you going through life wearing chains. I don't want you having to murder your dream because you don't feel like you can afford it. And again, this was not a privilege thing. And the reason I felt like I felt a little awkward even sharing this is because I don't want people to say, well, that's because you're rich and you're Dr. Boyce and you can do things for your kids. Because, well, I get that. I understand. I'm not a poor man, but at the same time, even if I was a working class, even if I was, I could be a carpenter, truck driver, I could be a plumber, I could be a garbage man and share this same message with my child. This is not this is not contingent upon having a certain income level. It's about having a certain level of intellectual wealth that I wanted to share with her. It's me just understanding how this stuff works. And so I said, look, money is this thing that you just want to get money out of the way so you can get to the business of living life. And a lot of people can never get to the business of living life because they haven't got past that stage of having enough money to get by. So you have to sacrifice the life that you really want to live for you to go live the life that the corporate plantation is telling you to live. They say, well, I know you want to spend 8 hours a day, dancing and singing or whatever it is you want to do, but we need you to spend 10 hours a day at the factory because that's how you're going to have money. So part of the reason that investing culture is so important to the children is because if they learn how to build a capital base and they get your help, you start building the family capital base when they're young, and then they go into the world and they've got assets behind them, they've got something at their back that's protecting them economically, then they have freedom to really explore life. They get to live, they get to do the things they want to do. They don't have to do things that other people are telling them to do. They don't have to make ugly, horrible choices because nobody prepared them. So I think it's really important for us to prepare the kids. I really do. I think it's very important for us, and we got to take this damn thing over. I talked to you guys last night. Last night we were reading Dr. Claude Anderson books in class. Dr. Claude Anderson is the man behind me who's not Malcolm X and not Marcus Garvey, in case you don't know his face. You probably know Malcolm. I hope you know Garvey. And if you don't, the two that are not Malcolm and not Garvey are Dr. Claude Anderson. He's on the other side of Malcolm, behind my head. We were reading Dr. Claude Anderson books last night, and we were talking about how much wealth has been stolen from the Black community. We were talking about how just so many efforts that are done to degrade us and sort of keep us in our place. We were talking about all the different strategies that were used to keep us from simply even having the inability to solve our own problems. And I asked you all a poignant question. I said, okay, so do you believe, and answer me today, we'll ask it again. Let's do this again. Give me a yes or no. Do you think that the Black community has the ability to solve its own problems in the area, say education? Like, do you think that we right now have shown the ability? How about this? Have we shown the ability to solve our own problems? Or are we waiting for somebody else to solve them for us? Now we have the ability, but have we shown the ability? I don't think we have shown the ability. Have we shown the ability to solve our own problems when it comes to crime in the community? We have the ability, but have we shown the ability? No, we haven't. Have we shown the ability to solve our own problems when it comes to what's going on with our families and what's going on with our wealth and everything else? We have not shown the ability to do that, but we have the ability. So think about this. If you have the ability, but you have not shown the ability, what's going on? What's the difference? What's happening here? What's the difference between somebody who has the ability to do something versus somebody who actually does it? What's the difference in the person with potential versus the person who realizes the potential? Basketball, you think about sports. What's the difference between like a Tracy McGrady who could have been great versus a Kobe Bryant who actually was great? What do you think the difference is? It's mindset. It's between the ears. It's psychological. It's how you think about the problem and how you approach the issue. It's action over words. It's do you have the courage to actually do what you need to do? Because we have the ability. A lot of you said yes because you were like you because maybe I said the question wrong. We have the ability, but we have not shown the ability. So my point is to say that it's mindset. It's all mindset. So I believe that we have the ability. We have not shown the ability, but we have the ability to craft our lives in the image that we desire them to be. We have the ability to craft the lives of our children in the image that we choose, not in the image that Massa chooses. Nobody has the right, ain't nobody going to decide how my daughter's going to live but me and her mother. That's it, period. And then she has a biological father. I respect him too. We're it. We're the Mount Rushmore in her life. And that's it. That we're the government, the alpha and the omega, all that. There's nobody else. I'm not handing her over to the world. I'm not handing her over to Hollywood so she can go out there and get invited to Diddy parties and have some old man offer her money in exchange for sex. No, we're not doing that. We're not handing our children over to people that don't care about them. So I would encourage you to consider this. Consider this. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking you to consider this idea. You have the ability to shape your reality in the way that you want it to be. It just requires a specific mindset. So I'm going to read something to you from my book that hopefully will help you take this lesson and this message and carry this through your life. And I wanted to share this conversation with my daughter because I thought maybe it could help somebody today. Again, I said, look, I'll show you how to invest. We're going to build you a capital base. She's going to have some assets when she goes into the adult world, and she can dance her butt off all day long and still be able to pay the bills. Like, that's not, to me, the idea of her letting go of something she's good at and that she loves just so she can do something that means absolutely nothing to her. Well, if you want a recipe and a formula for depression, that would be it. If you want to really make somebody sad, take away the thing they love and replace it with racism and racial microaggressions every single day at a stressful job. Do that. And then you're going to create a formula for unhappiness. And I need you to connect that. I need you to connect this because this is bigger than money. This is bigger than like how to get rich and how to drive a Lamborghini. I don't give a damn about that stuff. I'm talking about substance, not the flash. Not the flashy crap you see on the internet. You could drive a car like me. I'm on a private jet. Look at me. Look at my house. Look at my clothes. Look at my Gucci. I'm not talking about that crap. I'm talking about your soul. I'm talking about your happiness. I'm talking about the fact that black people lead the world when it comes to anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies, and everything else that comes with that pressure that you feel from not being able to live the life that you want to live. You're living your life in the closet. You can't be who you want to be and do what you want to do because you got this economic weight over your head that basically says that if you get out of line, you're going to be punished and you're going to suffer. So you don't get out of line and then you find yourself miserable. You wake up every day and you're not happy getting out of bed. You shouldn't be sad to get up and go to work. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And it's not the way it has to be. But it's like that because somebody didn't intervene. Maybe if I talked to your parents 30 years ago, we could have prevented some of this. So I think we have to make the connection. Black people have we just lead in all those categories when it comes to the depression, especially. Do you know how many black people are just so depressed and sad? And I don't want you to be sad. I don't want my daughter to be sad. So when she asked me, what do I want, what do you want me to be when I grow up? I said, I just want you to be happy. I don't care. You can be happy as a dentist. You can be happy as a teacher. You can be happy, whatever. But I just want you to be happy. And people that are free tend to be happy. So money matters not because it can get you a Lamborghini and a private jet. Money matters because money can give you the freedom to pursue your happiness. If you have the freedom to pursue your happiness and to do the things that you want to do, as opposed to what somebody told you to do, then you are truly celebrating a real Juneteenth. Half of us, it's 80% of black people probably shouldn't have celebrated Juneteenth because our Juneteenth has not really arrived. The freedom that you feel that you got in 1865 never truly arrived because slavery was replaced by capitalism, which is another kind of slavery when you're talking about people that are economically desperate. When you're economically desperate in a capitalist system, you pretty much are going to be a slave. Not a slave like 1705, but a slave like 2024, 2025. A 2024, 2025 slave is not somebody that's unpaid. You're gonna get enough to pay your room and board and food. A 2025 slave is somebody who gets a minimal amount of money, who's forced to do something they really would not be doing if it wasn't for the money. That's another kind of slavery. It's just not as brutal. They're just not going to whip you and beat you for not coming to work, but you will be miserable. And in fact, a beating might be less painful than getting evicted and having to live on the street. All right, so let me let me read some of this. And by the way, make sure you're on the text list for this class. If you haven't got on the text list, you can text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text morning to 87948. I'll send you today. We'll send that last chance for the discounts on the All Black National Convention tickets. I told Micah to extend it one more day to make sure you guys get a chance to buy your convention passes early. And so if you're on the text list, I'll send it out this afternoon. So text the word morning to 87948. And the convention is October 25th through the 27th in Lombard, Illinois, which is right outside Chicago. Brother Nuri Muhammad is one of our keynotes. Lamar Tyler, the Black millionaire maker, who's a great guy, he's going to be speaking, as well as about 40 or 50 experts in different fields. So from everything from health to crypto to to literally everything. I mean, Dot Montgomery is going to he's a crypto expert. He's going to be there. So if you have an interest in crypto, that's Constance Carter is a real estate expert. She's going to be doing a lot of real estate stuff. So a lot of different people. My wife, Dr. Alicia, is a therapist. She's going to be there with her therapist friends. So ultimately, it's a big fat family reunion. So I hope you guys will consider coming. If you'd like to learn more about the convention, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. So what I want to read here is on page 57, and it's in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. If you want to get a copy and read along, you can go to drboycebooks.com, or it's also on Amazon. All right, so in our wealth building program for children, I often talk to parents about the kinds of kids we must build in order to control the 21st century and beyond. The problem we have today is that due to our overcommitment to sending our children to inferior and racist educational institutions that brainwash them with the wrong ideas and drain family wealth, we end up confused as to why our children are not prepared to compete. Prepared, not compared, prepared. Sorry, this morning. And I haven't had a whole cup of coffee yet. Let's keep it simple. You can never compete with any adversary if your adversary is the one that is training you for the competition. Do you understand that? You can't win a competition when your competitor is the one that's training you on how to beat the competitor. No competitor you will ever have in your life will ever train you on how to defeat them and how to have more power than them. That's not going to happen. At best, they'll be Batman and they'll train you how to be Robin, how to be the little brother. At worst, at worst, they will turn you into a commodity. So the idea that we just the basic idea that we are trained to systematically and automatically send our children away to people who do not love them to give them a quote unquote education is probably, if you really want to be for real and honest about it, and it's my birthday, so I'm going to be honest, is probably one of the craziest and dumbest things that we've ever been trained to do. If you think about, I want to ask y'all just to hammer this point home. How many of y'all hated going to school every day? How many of y'all just felt like school was like a torture chamber, like a prison with training wheels? It was just sad. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone. I had a horrible experience in school. Horrible. They almost ruined me. They almost ruined me. All this so-called intelligence, I guess I must have, that got the PhD and all that, that was all there, but nobody ignited that shit. Nobody helped me pull that out. They made me think I was stupid, and they made me hate going to school, and I was sad and depressed. I wasn't happy to get up. You're dealing with all kinds of crap, bullies and evil white women from the suburbs who don't understand you, and stupid rules that don't make any sense. And you got and then on top of having to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was terrible. So to me, I think that we should start from the basics and really reconsider that basic idea that says, well, as soon as I have a baby, I'm gonna hand my baby over to Massa so Massa can educate my baby, and then I could go work for the other Massa down at the factory. I'm not, I'm not making fun of it. I just it just to me it's so blatantly problematic. So you're handing your child over to these people who don't love your child while you go over here and work with these people who don't love you. And I think that if you're making your world into what you want it to be, you would want everyone to be in a loving environment. And I believe, perhaps I'm old fashioned for saying this, but I believe the best place for a child is with the parents and the people who love that child. Really, so I'm a big fan of these community homeschool networks, because what they have is more valuable than education. They just have love. If a kid feels loved, do you know how much difference it makes in their performance? Do you know how much harder a kid will work for somebody who cares about them than they will for some asshole who's just telling them what to do? Do y'all understand that? Do you understand that when I did see my sparks, maybe let's say that I'm a smart person. I'm not gonna I don't want to sound cocky about all that. I guess I must not be stupid. I don't know. But whatever potential I had, I noticed in hindsight that my potential would tend to show itself when I was in an environment where somebody cared about me. If somebody sat there and gave me special time and attention and said, "Hey, Boyce, I really want you to do good on this test," I would want to impress that person. Tell me if you know what I'm talking about. I would want to make them happy. I'd want to, I'd get into it, and those are the moments where I was really into school. And it would just be like these little flash in the pan type moments, and it might not even be a black person. There was a white lady named Miss Kim, this little 22-year-old white girl who she seemed like an old lady to me because I was 7, and she would just sit with me and show me how to do my homework. And you know what Miss Kim taught me? Miss Kim taught me how that if you have a lot of work to do, because I would get overwhelmed. I have so much work and I wouldn't know what was going on, and I wouldn't do any of it, and I would get a 0 on everything. And she was like, "No, what you do, boys, is you take the easy stuff, you do the easy stuff first, and then you work your way up." And do you know that to this day, and today, remember, today is the 20th anniversary of my 33rd birthday. I'm not 53. They say I'm 53, but that's fake news. I'm not 53. This is the 20th anniversary of my 33rd birthday. So on the 20th anniversary of my 33rd birthday, do you know that when I have a bunch of stuff to do, I literally do what Miss Kim taught me when I was 7? And I don't even know if that's true. I don't. It just sounded good, but she said it with kindness and what felt like love. I really think. And so again, this is not even just a racial thing, because we know sometimes you have black people that can be meaner to other black people than white people can. Sometimes we'll beat each other harder than Master does, right? So there are good people across the board. But my point is to say that I think sending kids to a loving space where they're learning things that are relevant is far more beneficial than sending them to a hostile space where they always have to be on the defense. So let me keep reading here. So let's keep it simple. You can never compete with an adversary if your adversary is the one that is training you for the competition. The thing you must understand about capitalism is that not everyone in the capitalist system is trained to be at the top. Capitalism does not work if everybody's on the top. It's just like you can't drive a bus if everybody's trying to be the bus driver. Do you understand? Most people have to be passengers on the bus, and there's only limited spots for the bus driver. So if Massa is the one who is running the capitalist system, the capitalist system is a big bus, and he's only got certain spots for drivers, and everybody else is a passenger, and and money's being made for every passenger that's paid to the bus driver. Which position do you think he's going to pick for himself, and which position do you think he's going to pick for you? I want you to think about that. The thing that you must understand about capitalism is not everyone is trained to be at the top. Most are trained to live at the bottom to prop up those at the top. That's how capitalism, unfortunately, works. From a socioeconomic standpoint, there is no group that is more consistently expected to maintain the bottom of the American capitalist system than African Americans. The entire country was built on our labor and also on our stolen land. So I hope you understand when I make it abundantly clear that Black people have no business being educated by people who are not Black. This doesn't mean that our kids can't learn from other cultures and even engage with them, but the formative knowledge base and value systems of Black children should be defined by Black people. This means that one of the keys for Black people to claim our sovereignty must come in the form of Black-owned educational systems. In this system, I've always advocated that we must build what I refer to as sturdy children. Sturdy is spelled S-T-E-R-D-Y. S-T-E-R-D-Y. Sturdy stands for the following: systems, technology, entrepreneurship, relationships, and delegation. The Y at the end is just there to help you remember, or you could say Y stands for youth. So systems, technology, entrepreneurship, relationships, and delegation. Here's why we must build sturdy children for the future. Systems and understanding of them are critical when it comes to the tall task of fighting systematic white supremacy. The racial inequality in America exists because there are systems in place, systems that keep Black people in our place. So when people talk about racism, they usually talk about it in the wrong way. When they talk about racism, they're talking about it like, I went to the grocery store today and the white lady looked at me funny and she put the other white lady in front of me in line. That's not racism. That's just prejudice. That's just bias. That everybody has bias. Everybody has bias. That is not systematic racism. Systematic racism is a set of laws, norms, protocols, procedures, and customs that were put in place to put one group in one category and everyone else in another. That's what systematic racism did. It was a system. And the reason that Dr. Claude Anderson books are so important for you to read, like Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth, is because he carefully documents all the systems that were put in place to keep you where you are. You cannot control a commodity as valuable as Black labor without a system to manage that commodity. It's like if I have 10,000 chickens on a farm and I'm trying to manage all these chickens in order to get them in the truck so I can take them to KFC, I have to manage it with a system. I cannot do it chicken by chicken. So when they talk about racism as what the lady said to you at the grocery store, or he don't like Black people, or what all this other silly stuff, that's the chicken by chicken thing. Like he don't like you in particular. Maybe he just don't like you because you're overweight. Maybe he doesn't like you because you're short. Maybe he doesn't like you because he doesn't like anybody. Who cares if he likes you? Because he doesn't even have any power over your life anyway. What matters are systems, because systems are how you commodify and control a marginalized group of people. Like prison is a system because you have to have a system to be able to manage hundreds of thousands of people that you've labeled as criminals, which many of whom happen to be Black. Systems. So kids have to understand systems if they want to overcome racism. They also must understand systems if they want to prosper. Let's keep going. You have so when you talk about systems, you have the criminal justice system, the economic system, the educational system, the healthcare system, the professional sports system, media systems, and more that keep Black people oppressed and exploited in every way. You can't typically fight an entire system with one super leader. Black leadership often fails because it is nothing more than hero worship of one or two men who believe they can solve all of our problems. This makes things easy for a government that is incredibly good at discrediting and even killing symbolic leaders. Instead, leadership must be done through systems. Systems are the keys to wealth and power in America. Systems don't just create one really successful black man with a good job. A system can create a million black men and women with excellent economic opportunities. So just like my friend's speech. I got to reach out to speech for the convention. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he did a documentary called "The Iga Factory." The word starts with an N. It's the N word. And in this documentary, "The Iga Factory," he basically explains how the system of media has mass produced an Iga culture, and you know what I'm talking about. It produced a whole culture where millions of people think the exact same way because they've been systematically programmed to look at things that are debaucherous, degrading, destructive, harmful, things that lead to incarceration, addiction, financial devastation, and broken families. And they've made that common. And they couldn't have done that by doing it person by person. The chicken by chicken model wouldn't have worked. They had to have a systematic way to brainwash all the sheep at the same time. So that's why you can go to Detroit and then go to Philadelphia and then go to LA and then go to Houston and find people that have the exact same mentality because they were systematically programmed through media. That's what the documentary, The Iga Factory, talks about. So my argument is that if you understand systems, then you understand that to fight a system, you have to be a system. To fight a system, you must create a better system. So with the others alternative systems, I believe if we get some of these black folks sitting on a whole lot of money who don't want to do nothing constructive with it to come together and raise a few $1 million, we can build other systems that will mass produce the types of people that we want to see. You mass produce successful black men and black women the same way you can mass produce Ford motor trucks, the same way Lockheed Martin can mass produce weapons and bullets and airplanes, right? You can mass produce it the same way Frito-Lay mass produces millions of bags of Cheetos that they send all around the world. So you can mass produce great black people by having systems in place that raise our children to be extraordinary and raise them to be great. And I do believe that this is a solution that doesn't just affect us economically. You also will see stronger families. If you 11 years ago, when I laid out Project 2070 was a plan that I put together, and I wrote a little short book about it. It's called It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, a new paradigm for Black America. It's somewhere out there. I think it's on Amazon, but I think you can get it for free. I'll send it to you guys. But in this layout, I was basically saying that if we focus on systems, we can do something that I think is really important. And I called it BOMB, building outstanding men and boys. If you raise them with certain expectations and certain standards in a certain kind of environment, you can mass produce the kinds of men that are going to be excellent heads of household in 10, 15, 20 years. And then you won't have this problem that you have now, where you've got a lot of extraordinarily highly educated, highly successful black women in their 30s and 40s and even late 20s who cannot find a husband to match. They can't. They can't find men who are on the same level because so many black boys were distracted by the system. They were taught you were going to be the next LeBron, or you were going to be the next comedian, or you were going to be the next great rapper, and so they poured all their energy into that. So now you got a guy who's been raised on this rapper culture, athlete culture, and not made a nickel playing sports because he's 5'9" and forgot, and nobody told him that. And now he's trying to match up with this black woman that's got a master's degree and $100,000 a year job, and he's feeling mad. He's feeling inadequate. So what I'm saying is that I think we need to raise the boys at a certain level so that they are prepared for the next stage in life. They're prepared to win the big game in life, which is the game of family and freedom and community and power. This game, they're not playing with you. They're not going to feel sorry for you. It drives me, it makes me sick when I see anybody sort of seeking out sympathy for black men. You know, their feelings are hurt and it's sad and they're really sad and they're really, and I get it. I understand that. I do believe in getting in touch with your feelings, but I don't think that when you're in a war that it's so good to be so touchy feely and just really weak like that. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that your feelings make you weak. I think that you should connect to your feelings. You should understand your feelings. In fact, in consciousness training, we talk a lot about feelings and when we're talking about investing and all that. But at the same time, I don't know why anybody ever taught our kids that somehow white people care how you feel. I'm not saying that they're all bad or evil, but I just really don't know who taught us that whining about a problem, you know, and marching and praying and complaining about a problem is going to really solve the problem. There's a point where I think we have to understand that nobody cares about us that like that. Like we have to care about each other and care about ourselves. That's where it has to start. I don't think other people care about us. So with that being said, though, you're in a competition, and in the middle of that competition, there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser, and the winner may have cheated in order to win, but nobody cares. Nobody really cares. You know, and so while I will acknowledge to the end of the earth that yeah, they cheated, yeah, they stole this, yeah, they did that, they came and beat us up and took our stuff, yeah, they burned down Black Wall Street. I acknowledge all of that, but then the next step is like, okay, so what you gonna do about that? Like, what's the response? Is the response to sit back and cry about it, or is the response to do something about it? I don't know. I personally think taking action is a better approach. Or you could get the moral high ground of always being the victim, always being the loser. And then maybe there are some people that might feel sorry for you, but they're never going to give you true power. True power does not is not given to people that beg for it or cry that they got beat up and somebody took it from them. Power is given by communities that have the ability to assert that power. For example, the Jewish community does have a lot of power. We That's easy to see. I don't think anybody ever gave that to them. I don't think anybody ever gave it to them. Now, no, don't get mind you, they do have some sympathy from the Holocaust and all that for sure. But if you look at the way they raise their children when it comes to economics, they don't play around. They don't mess around. I used to ride a school bus, and I remember all the little Jewish kids would get off the bus and go to Hebrew school. They had their own schools. They say, yeah, you can go to the public school, but after you go to public school, you're going to go to Hebrew school because we need to know exactly who you are, where you come from, and when you go out here and you succeed and you're going to make those millions in Hollywood or wherever the hell you go, you know to bring that back to the synagogue. You know to bring that back to the community. You know that when we come a calling, you're going to answer the call. And it's not to say that we don't understand some of that, but there are a lot of our people who are disconnected from that. So they'll go and you'll have some athlete or entertainer that'll go make a bunch of money and they'll literally publicly and proudly say, I don't owe anybody anything. I don't owe the black community nothing. Why y'all stressing me out? Why are you bothering me? And this is something that's interesting also because I remember Bobby Knight, who was actually I thought he was a great basketball coach. He was an asshole though. He was kind of a jerk, but he was a great basketball coach. And I remember he was talking to some other coaches, and he said, "Yeah, you know, the black players, they get all these family members that want stuff from them and everything else, and it's just a distraction, and they need to cut all that off." And I get it, right? Sometimes people can be overwhelming, but what he's basically saying is that now that you're doing okay, you should disconnect from all those people that you left back at home because that's nothing but a burden for you. And I would say in response that's not true at all because many of those people that he's cutting off and disconnecting from are the people who cared about him before you even knew who the hell he was. Before he was that 6'8", 240-pound basketball player that's scoring all these points for you and your $1 million baby or your $40 million slave, we fed him when he was worthless. We fed him, we took care of him and protected him when nobody gave a damn about him. When he was just a big black boy in the hood that could have got shot by the police, it was his mother, grandmother, father, and uncles and everybody else that was looking out for him. So you're damn right they deserve a piece of the reward that comes from his success. This idea that you can just cut off your community because what now you're a Kardashian or something, that's insane to me. That's not accurate. That's not how you build a strong community. Because what happens then is that all your successful black people end up over here, and then everybody who's not successful ends up in kind of like this little, almost like a ghetto. You know, like if you're worth something, they're going to cherry pick you and Jackie Robinson you out of your ecosystem. The ecosystem that built you is not the ecosystem that benefits from you. How unfair is that? How crazy is that? The Negro Leagues are dead because they went in and they somehow were able to pluck the best black players out of the league and say, y'all don't need to have a league. We should have a league. You shouldn't be driving the bus. We should be the bus driver. So now that you've nurtured and fed and taken care of these players and coached them and built them up and made them great, we're going to come in, scoop them up, and pretend like we took care of them all along. That ain't right. You done raised the damn baby to the age of 18, and then somebody adopts your child and takes credit for everything that you did. That's bullshit to me. That's absolute bullcrap. I'm not going to cuss no more. I apologize, but it's my birthday, so I hope you can forgive me for that. It's crazy to me, but that for many of us, that makes sense. We're okay with that. I'm not okay with that. I am not okay with that. I perfectly understand when a player signs a $100 million contract and the mother who worked 2 or 3 jobs to take care of him and raise his little raggedy ass says, okay, you know what? You should buy me a house. Yeah, mama deserves that. Give mama a house. But unfortunately, most people agree that most guys will buy their mama a house because they got common sense. Yeah, the person that invested in you should get an ROI on their investment. Because what I don't understand, and people might disagree with me, but I say, well, why are the people, somebody's getting a return on investment? So why is it that the people that get the biggest ROI, the biggest return on investment, are the people who never invested in you in the first place? These are the people, they weren't shooting jumpers with you in the gym. They wasn't kicking it with you in the hood. They wasn't making sure you didn't get killed by the local drug dealer. They weren't trying to make sure you were fed after school every day. So no, those are the people that should be first in line. Those are the ones you take care of first. And so ultimately this type of ecosystem, I think, is beneficial and critical for us to prosper financially. You got to hold on to the things that you create. Think about it. You created hip hop. Black people created hip hop. I know that's debatable. People are debating, who did what, but I think we were definitely a critical aspect of that. So we should all be extremely wealthy from hip hop. Like we should literally have trillions of dollars in the black community because we created one of the greatest, most powerful art forms in the history of the world. We have the best athletes on the planet. We should have just, 100,000 new millionaires every year that come from the fact that we have the best athletes and the best entertainers, right? We developed the Whitney Houstons and the Michael Jacksons and the Michael Jordans and the Shaquille O'Neals and the Bo Jacksons and all. Like we did this. This is what we do. This is what we have. And so think about this though. There's some communities that create a lot of wealth and get no benefits from it. And then there are some communities that create wealth and do benefit from it. Like, what's the difference there between, say, Nigeria, where they have more oil than damn near every country on the planet? I think they have the most of anybody, or they're close. And they have tons of poverty, so many poor people there. It makes no sense. Versus Saudi Arabia, well, you run up in there and it's like people are buying $300,000 cars like it's nothing. And I think that it just really comes down to mindset. I think it comes down to lines of thinking. It comes down to the quality of leadership as well. All these variables have to be considered when you're talking about who benefits from what. So let me read a little bit more from the book. This is from my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy at drboycebooks.com. And also our flashcards for children are at drboycebooks.com as well. All right. So you can't fight a system with one super leader. We mentioned that earlier. You have to have a system to fight a system. Leadership must be done through systems. Systems are the keys to wealth and power in America. Also, young people who can think in terms of systems don't just become successful, they also gain the ability to spread their success to others. Those who control systems don't just earn a high income. See, if you think individually and you can't think systematically, then what happens is you work hard, you go to school, and you get a great job, and then you're like, look at me, I'm successful because I have a good job. Well, there's no benefit to the black community when you go out and you get a good job and you're doing good. Like this is not. The greatest benefit is when you scale that success. So when your success becomes contagious, that's when it truly has an impact, right? So what we'll do is to make ourselves feel better is we'll do things that I almost, in honest hindsight, I feel like they're a little bit goofy. I used to think like this too. Like when I was on the faculty of Syracuse University and I had no black students hardly, I had like maybe 1 or 2 out of several hundred per year. I would teach white people, Asian people, etc. But I would have maybe just a few black students per year, and I would mentor a few black kids. I would mentor maybe like 5 or 6, and I felt like that was making a big difference, which it probably was for them, but that wasn't me maximizing the scale of my abilities. What eventually did maximize my scale was when I started talking to thousands and thousands of people. And I don't just talk to you once a month or whenever I feel like it. I talk to you every single morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, right here every single day. And so my thinking is like, okay, this is a way to maximize the scale. The things that I know, if you want to know them, you can know them too, right? Well, the same thing might be true when you're talking about success being contagious in other ways. The part of the reason in the Black Wealth Master Plan that I tell you that I believe every black child needs to learn how to start a business by the age of 12 is because if you are thinking as an owner and as an entrepreneur, then you are a job creator. And do you understand that there's a difference between that black guy who gets a degree in engineering, who gets a job making $250,000 a year working for Google versus the same guy who got the degree in engineering, who makes the $250,000 at Google, but then moves out and starts some sort of a company where he can then go employ 40 people, let's say 50 people, 100 people, right? So in the second case, 100 people have benefited, 100 families have benefited from his success. In the first case, the only beneficiary of his success is him. And also, the guy who builds the company or the infrastructure or whatever it is has some sort of economic legacy or institutional framework that will outlive them, that will live longer than a human body. The guy who's getting up and going to work every day, well, his contribution to the small collective of people around him, namely his family, is gonna die pretty much when he's gone. Like when he's done, he's gonna, he could die at his desk because he worked himself into a grave, and then they're gonna replace him within a week. But the company will continue as an economic entity without any sort of memory or recollection that he was ever there. Right. So ultimately, I think that thinking systematically means you just simply say, how do I scale and multiply what I have? How do I take what I am and what I know and what I can contribute and make it grow? But so, for example, let's go back to this. Let's go back to a tangible example. And I'm going to actually, I'm not going to go through the whole sturdy model today because I think we've talked about a lot and I don't want to overwhelm you. And my goal is to keep this under between 30 minutes and 60 minutes. But think about this, process this. Let's leave with this point. What if Jackie Robinson, realizing he was arguably the greatest baseball player on the planet, definitely top five, top 10. What if Jackie Robinson in the Negro Leagues had been raised to think systematically instead of thinking individually? Or in finance, we would refer to that as idiosyncratically. Idiosyncratic is one person, one instance, one situation. Systematic is broad and spreads. It has a broader scope. What if Jackie Robinson was a systematic thinker, right? So let's think about this. What did Jackie Robinson do? Jackie Robinson was a guy who was associated with the Negro Leagues, who then got an opportunity from Major League Baseball, and he ended up going to Major League Baseball. Now, Agnes, I'm gonna look up the history of Willie Mays. I'm not 100%. I'm not as familiar with his whole story as I am with Jackie, so I will study that though. So what happened? He became a great player in the Negro Leagues, and then Major League Baseball comes along and says, "Boy, we think you're a great player. We'd like to try you out for the Dodgers." Now they're gonna call you the N word a lot, and they're gonna spit on you and mistreat you and disrespect you. But if you can stay focused and not fight back, then we can make you the first black person to play in the majors. So a couple things happen. Number one, everybody around him gets excited because like, oh Lord Jesus, you get to play baseball with a bunch of inferior white boys. And then you get to be a Dodger and Major League Baseball integration, all that, right? Instead of seeing the blessing that was around him, to instead of seeing it as a blessing that he's playing with black people, we saw that as a curse, right? So that's kind of a self-esteem, self-perception issue, right? Because in my mind, he was in the best spot he could be. He was in a safe spot where people truly loved him. They weren't going to spit on him. They were going to cheer for him. They weren't going to call him the N-word. They were going to call him a hero. And so this idea, this very false, very problematic idea that you want to go into a hostile space where everyone hates you and deal with all of the cortisol that will be in your brain from the constant stress of the fight or flight response you're going to feel and the emotional distress that you're subjecting yourself to just so you can be around people that you consider to be superior to you. That is a problem. And maybe there's some more money attached. I get that too. So I want you to think about just kind of what happened. So there's the self-esteem issue, and then there is the whole systematic economic issue where the Negro leagues deflate and die because MLB goes in and starts plucking the very best athletes. So the institutional infrastructure of that which would have become the Negro leagues, which would be worth maybe $100 billion today, disappears and dies so we can sort of suck ourselves into somebody else's ecosystem, or we can become passengers on a bus that's being driven by massa. Okay. So what if Jackie Robinson had been a systematic thinker? What if he'd been trained? What if he'd spent time around the Marcus Garveys of the world? And I don't know how old Malcolm was at the time, but what if he'd had that sort of influence? I think he was. I think he was a lot older than Malcolm. But okay, if he was a systematic thinker, here's what would have happened. I think he would have been. Or what if he'd had financial consciousness too? What he would have done is he would have said, "Man, we've got the best players in the world right here. Um, we've got a great business model right here. We've got millions of fans right here. And so instead of me going over there, we're going to make them come over here because I'm an asset. I'm a multi-million-dollar asset. So if I leave, that is a wealth transfer. I am transferring the economic value of my presence to someone else's team, to someone else's group. I'm literally taking the very same people who oppress us and call us names and don't like us, and I'm giving them a $100 million donation. That's what I'm doing. Just no different from like if another woman down the street who hated my wife said, Boyce, I'd like for you to be my husband. And if I'm a sucker, if I'm a punk, and I don't see the blessing that my wife is to me, I would say, ooh, the white lady want me to be her husband. And I go down the street. Well, I'm an asset to the family. So now now the family suffers because I'm gone. Her family's gonna win because I think I'm a hell of a husband. I love being a great dad. I put a lot of energy into that. So she's gaining an asset. Do you understand? So if Jackie Robinson had been a systematic thinker, and had some economic consciousness, maybe some training on how institutions are grown, how the NFL grew from a raggedy little crappy football league where the teams were being sold for $50 to a multi-billion-dollar behemoth where the Dallas Cowboys are worth $10 billion. If he could have seen that, he would say, no, 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 I can't leave. Oh my God, I can't leave. Even if I was never going to get a nickel for the rest of my life, I can't leave because what we have here is so powerful and so important. And then also, if the people around him that he trusts are empowered to implement various simple ideas of economic development, then you really what you're talking about something that would create massive amounts of generational wealth for thousands of families for the next several hundred years. Like you're talking about, think about how many thousands of families and individuals can eat off of a professional sports league. The NFL, for example, is such a massive, gigantic economic entity that they can feed entire nations. Nobody starves if they're affiliated with the NFL. Nobody starves because there's money to burn. There's money to burn because they've got billion-dollar brands. They've got millions of fans around the world that just love what they do. They literally are dishing out brain damage on a regular basis. The CTE is out of control. Those poor guys, their brains are all mashed up and everything, but it doesn't matter. Nothing can really stop that bullet train because that institution is so powerful. That system is so impenetrable, at least to this point. It's like trying to invade a country. You can't take down the NFL. So my thought would be, well, where's our system? And where were the visionaries? Where are the visionaries that can see that we're in the sweet spot? That a lot of the leagues can't even survive without black talent. So how is it that we're providing all the talent, but they're making all the money? They control the infrastructure to that. Well, that's economic consciousness in action. Their consciousness level is not, how do we grow the next LeBron? Because we can't grow a LeBron in our community. How do we create the next Michael Jordan? There is no Michael. There is no white. No disrespect. If you're white, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but there's never been a white Michael Jordan. Maybe one day there will be, but there never has been. So that they're not able to get the raw materials. They got to go through us. We're the connect. The only entity on the planet, the only person on the planet that can give birth to a Michael Jordan is a black woman having a child with a black man. Like you are the source, you are the sauce, you are the juice. Shaquille O'Neal's mama could give birth to a 7'1", 250-pound monster who can run down the court like a ballerina and tear the rim down. Like there's never been a white version of a Shaquille O'Neal. So what I'm saying is, here's what I'm getting at. you've got the raw materials for to build trillion-dollar empires. The electric vehicle industry, they need to go get cobalt out of Africa, and then to make AI, they need nuclear power plants and all that, right? And they all this, or maybe they need scientists, or maybe they need some other copper. Copper is going to be big. I told you guys I'm investing heavily in copper. CopX. CopX is the ticker symbol, by the way, if you want to know what I'm invested in, right? So just like they need those raw materials to run their other trillion-dollar industries, well, you are a raw material. Like the black woman's womb produces a raw material that converts itself into a multi-trillion-dollar commodity, and we just don't know how to get our cut. And so I think that we better expeditiously, to use the words of TI, expeditiously make sure that our children are trained early on systematic thinking, so that when they sit down at the negotiating table over these precious this precious commodity that we control, they're able to defend that. Because if you don't have economic consciousness and economic intelligence, you cannot defend your wealth. I've talked to you guys before about the 4 steps of building wealth in America. Let me go through them very quickly and then we'll be done for the day. Number one is financial consciousness. You must be aware of where the wealth is located. A lot of people don't even know where the money's at. So if you can't see the money, you'll never be the money. You'll never have the money if you don't know where the money's located. Number two is you have to have a plan. So planning has to just be a regular part of the culture as well. You cannot have success without a plan. Success does not typically happen by accident. If you don't, if you, what is it? If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail, right? So basically, you have to have a plan to get the wealth. Number three is you have to work the plan. This is consistent work ethic every single day, getting up consistently, doing something that's going to move you forward to your objective. The $5 a day plan is an execution process that can take any family from poverty to wealth in less than a generation. Very easy to do. And then the fourth part, really important part, is that you have to be able to defend and protect the wealth. That's the fourth part, defending and protecting. There's no group of people anywhere in the history of this world that has ever had wealth and power that has been able to maintain that wealth and power without being able to defend it. And you don't just you defend it. Sometimes you have to defend it by fighting, right? War, missiles, all that stuff. Sometimes you have to defend it by being intelligent and strategic. Sometimes you have to defend it by just at least being aware of what you have. Do you know how many times somebody has pulled a rope-a-dope, like an art collector has pulled a rope-a-dope on somebody where they have this little painting in the garage and they're thinking that it's worth 20 bucks and they try to sell it at a yard sale, and an art collector comes along and says, "Oh my God, that's an original Rembrandt from 1604." And they're freaking out and they know that this thing is worth 80, $100,000 or whatever, and they offer you 20 bucks for it. That's what they call, Dr. Anderson has a term for that. He calls that the doctrine of unequal exchange. The doctrine of unequal exchange is where someone gives you very little and you give them a lot. So he says this is how the Europeans ripped off Africa. This is also how everyone else rips off African Americans. So it is essential. It is absolutely essential that we have children, that we have people in our community that are raised and trained to be economically conscious and aware and to have some understanding of the value you possess. Had that consciousness been present during the Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays era, the Negro Leagues would be $1 trillion asset, or at least worth $100 billion or more. Okay. And thousands of jobs and businesses would all prosper because of the ownership of the league. Instead, you've just got a bunch of high paid employees. And that's not how you build a community. All right. So anyway, I'm done. Thank you so much for listening. You can get a copy of the book at drboycebooks.com. My book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can also get our financial flashcards and workbooks for children if you'd like. Also, if you'd like to be invited tomorrow when we meet for economic awareness training, where we economically elevate, you can just text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text morning to 87948. And also, some of you have an interest in stock options, and sometimes we do stock options training. So if you want to do that, you can also text the word options to 87948. So text options to 87948. We're going to have a meeting for those of you that are in the Prime program soon, and I'll send you guys a notification when we meet, because we love to make money selling stock options. It's a great way to make money. All right, guys. In fact, that's how my daughter's going to make her money, so she will not have to make money as a dancer for anybody. And I definitely don't want her dancing on nobody's pole. You got to keep your daughter off the pole. And but so I'm actually showing her how to sell stock options. That's something I'm going to require her to learn how to do, and then I'm going to give her a capital base and teach her how to manage it, and she'll never have to work for anybody unless she chooses to. All right, so have a good day, everybody. God bless you. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. And in case you just came in, yeah, today is the 20th anniversary of my 33rd birthday. So wish me a happy 33rd. I appreciate that. All right, guys, have a good day. I'm kidding. They say I'm 53, but again, that's fake news. They be out here lying, y'all. These are the haters be lying. All right, so I'll see you all later. Have a good day. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.